The APEC conference was last week in San Francisco. APEC, APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, not to be confused with APAC. So APEC, slightly less insidious organization on the world stage. Here's President Xi Jinping talking about China's influence on the rest of the world should it emerge as the dominant superpower. Here he is.
Whatever stage of development it may reach, China will never pursue hegemony or expansion and will never impose its will on others. China does not seek spheres of influence and will not fight a cold war or a hot war with anyone. China will remain committed to dialogue and oppose confrontation and build partnerships instead of alliances. It will continue to pursue a mutually beneficial strategy of opening up. The modernization we are pursuing is not for China alone. We are ready to work with all countries to advance global modernization featuring peaceful development, mutually beneficial cooperation, and common prosperity, and to build a community with a shared future for mankind.
All right, now, to the rest of the world, what sounds better, that or the calls for a ceasefire are outrageous? Yeah, woohoo! Kill, murder, bomb, bomb! Yeah. That seems like a pretty good deal to me. Seems like a pretty good deal to me that he's offering.
Now, don't you worry when you play clips like that you'll get demonetized?
Under 5 seconds.
If it's under 5 seconds, I think they allow it.
Oh, no kidding.
That's why if you ever see those video essays with mashups of movie scenes, the cuts are all quick because I think they allow you to cut them quickly. Because then you're repurposing it is the idea.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, again.
Plus, we had you on. We're going to get demonetized anyway.
People have been,
may as well.
People have been fed a bill of goods about China, and not that I'm, Danny Haifong or anything, but they have a much more sober. They're instead of going around the world and trying to gain influence by bombing the shit out of them, decapitating their leaders, and installing puppet dictators that oppress their own people, like the United States does. They're going around trying to help them build infrastructure and actually make their lives better and gain influence in those parts of the world that way. And people like Dylan Ratigan tried to make that seem like some kind of nefarious plot that we have to stop. Oh my God, Jimmy, they might build a bridge. They're investing in ports. We can't have this.
I think it was Vijay Prashad who tweeted out because he went to Asia on a trip and he spent some time in South Korea, free South Korea. And then went to, communist China across the border. And he took a picture. South Korea, you had, tent encampments under bridges, desperately poor people living out on the street. Said, this is South Korea, none of this across the border in China. That absolute hellhole, right?
Although, to be fair, I had the same experience going to Buffalo and then riding across the Peace Bridge into Canada.
They don't have homeless people in Canada, eh?
You don't have the crumbling buildings that you have on the Buffalo side. You come from the Buffalo side, it's all these broken factories and just collapsing roofs. You go over to Canada, it's very neat, very orderly. I'm not saying they don't have it, but...
I was just in Wilmington, Delaware, and that's Joe Biden's country. Mm-hmm. And it just feels like that place got bombed out, like they haven't rebuilt it since the World War II or something. But that's another one of those cities, Wilmington, Delaware. It used to have 120,000 people in it, and now it has 70. And so There's just no way it's not going to feel empty and hollow when you're walking around. And all the buildings seem very old because they are, and they're not being kept up or anything. The streets were clean enough, but again, we are Brazil. The United States is Brazil. And the people who actually run this country, which is not the people in Congress or Joe Biden, it's the handful of billionaires that run the whole goddamn world. It's the people from the WEF, the Bill Gates, those people. They don't have. In fact, it's the plan to keep it getting worse. I think the hollowing out of America, not only the middle class, but the infrastructure, the everything. It's to keep us afraid and to turning towards more authoritarianism, willing to give up our rights. It's 9/11 policies continued. That's all it is. And now, so anyway, I'll stop. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. There's another scene from later on in the conference that Russell actually sent me of Joe Biden referring to the Chinese president as a dictator, and you could see the look on Tony Blinken's face. You can watch his face sink as Biden gives this most unfortunate answer.
He lost his poker face.
See, this we couldn't play because the video would get demonetized, but I set this to the Curb Your Enthusiasm music and tweeted it out. I called it Curb Your Imperialism because that's what this is here. So let's take a look.
Mr. President, after today, would you still refer to President Xi as a dictator? This is a term that you used earlier this year.
Well, look, he is. I mean, he's a dictator in the sense that
Oh, boy.
He's like, I spent 3 days getting that guy drunk on rice wine, and you fucked it all up.
Yeah. Yep.
Didn't they go over that? Didn't they predict that question to come?
I'm sure they did, and I'm sure they practiced it, and I'm sure Biden whiffed, which is why he was like, oh, my God. Oh, what am I going to do? If you notice, Blinken is like his puppet. You know, like Blinken is near Biden all the time. Whenever Biden talks to a camera, it seems like he's hovering around. He's pretty much running the shots here. When it comes to foreign policy, we have President Anthony Blinken.
So it's kind of like Blinken is Radar O'Reilly, and Joe Biden is Colonel. What is his name? I forget his name.
Colonel. Oh God, what was his name? I don't even remember. We got smart people in the chat. They'll know.
Yeah, they'll know.
Yeah, they'll fill.
McLean Stevenson, whatever his character's name was.
What? Creeper? No.
Remember when McLean Stevenson left the show because he was going to go out and then he did, and that was it. His whole career ended. He did Hello Larry for one season, and I think that was that.
That very often happens to these guys who leave these hit shows thinking they're going to have a movie career.
Yeah,
and then they crawl back like 2 seasons later if it's still on.
Well, that guy from NYPD Blue, David.
Yeah, that's exactly who I was thinking of. What was his name?
Yeah,
the red-haired guy, David Caruso. Exactly.
Yeah, he went on to do NCI, whatever, but that came way later.
Yeah.
He tried to do some movies, and I saw it, and it sucked.
Jade.
Yeah, Jade. Yeah, that's the thing.
I can't believe
that
I
show because he
that.
wanted to do movies, and then he did that big movie, and it bombed. Yeah, it was
Blake.
Oh, that's right, Colonel Blake.
I told you people would know that.
To those in the chat.
And then they replaced him with Colonel Potter, which wasn't half as entertaining as McLean Stevenson was.
Please clap.